Okay, Implicit Revelations Case Study note. This is a semi-private sort of exploration, but it's insight that is generally applicable. Okay, so during this day of my Implicit Revelations Case Study that leads to these examples and insights that are profound and can really be beneficial along the healing journey through life. I was in a different state of nervous system activity than usual. Normally it's ventral to dorsal vagal. Today it was ventral to sympathetic. Ventral vagal to sympathetic. And the shift of nervous system activity shifted the way that memories were unconsciously activated and contributing to the navigation of reality. So part of the Implicit Revelations case study is exploring the concept of the correlation between unconscious memories and navigational patterns of the body mind, or the unconscious mind, and the regulation protocols of brain-body systems in the unconscious body, and how they relate with each other and directly connect with attachment systems. So there's like all these different attachment needs, and based on the well-being of that, there's these navigational patterns in the unconscious mind and these regulation protocols in the unconscious body. And I'm really tired. Just a heads up, this is just an Implicit Revelations case study note. Okay. So there's this correlation, okay? And then I've been in a much more active state the past couple of days. And that led to getting a little bit less sleep. I'm waking up in a high energy state instead of waking up super like calm and takes you a little while to get going. And so that was already contributing to the things that led up to what I'm about to share. And so I was already in a different state of nervous system activity, which was already shifting the navigational patterns. There was a greater, and it was shifting, especially the action patterns and the emotional patterns, which are directly coming from unconscious memories. In a state of pure consciousness, there are no action patterns and no emotions. And then from that space of emptiness and everythingness and nothingness, you can choose the direction of your action patterns and your emotions. And that's how you start to influence the creation of your own reality. But the body-mind navigates life from these unconscious memories carrying emotions and action patterns that help you make choices and decisions and have habits and muscle memory and learn motor skills and long-term memory of, facts and information, and when you're driving, what street do you turn on, and like all the basic things that help us function. And different emotions. How do you just naturally feel? Do you have a sense of humor? Do you go around with a smile on your face? Just things like that. It all comes from the activation of unconscious memories. So there's already a shift in my nervous system activity because I've been doing something different in my physical reality than I normally do. And it is a higher energy thing that involves a lot more moving and going around. And so it shifted the way that my nervous system was engaging. And I was, again, normally it's more ventral dorsal. And here it's been more ventral vagal and sympathetic. And with that came a shift in the activation of the navigational patterns and the memory centers or memory systems that are stored throughout the body mind. And unifying all the navigational systems and trillions of networks and rewriting the data in them while connecting them in new ways has been a very gradual journey for a very long time. And I have these moments when I'm like, wow, there's still a long way to go. Obviously I've come really, really far though. But, there's still stuff to be done. I spend many hours every day using my practices to continue rewiring my brain. Because I'm not all the way there, but I'm like really far into it. So that's good. So shift in my nervous system activity and a shift in the navigational patterns. And I was noticing this based on the types of memories that were naturally coming up, activated from the stimulus of abstract associations. Okay? I was noticing it more specifically through the consciously observable, which would be explicit autobiographical, memories that were coming up in response to the activation of abstract experiential elements through stimulus. And so I was noticing that, and then I kind of needed to shift some of what I was doing so that I didn't feed into the independent activation of that navigational pattern and could instead help encourage it to connect with the navigational patterns that I'm more used to, which don't involve that higher energy nervous system state. And so to help connect the navigational patterns associated with that nervous system state, I have to be in that nervous system state, but not base my navigation on the navigation that's automatically happening. So you're in this different state, and there's the navigation that's naturally coming up, and it's this conscious, okay, I noticed that the navigation coming is correlated with this nervous system state, so I need to stay in the nervous system state so I can rewire this, but I can't use this navigational information 100% because I'm trying to rewire it instead of expand what already exists. And so I had to shift a couple of the things and not act on a couple of the action patterns, like playing certain kinds of music, for example, that would feed that navigational pattern. Because if you have independently developed memory centers, you can have different interests based on different states of nervous system activity or external forms of stimulus. And one simple example is music. You might like certain kinds of music in certain states, and other states of nervous system activity or types of stimulus, like the people or places that you're around, you're like, wow, that music is actually kind of annoying and slow and boring, and I really need something different right now. That can correlate with independent activity of navigational systems and memory centers of the body mind. Okay, so there's all this already happening. Okay, to recap, to lead up to what this is, Implicit Revelations Case Study notes. There's a shift the last few days in my external activity, which encouraged a shift to a higher end of nervous system engagement. And nervous system activity connects with different navigational patterns and different memory centers of the body mind if there isn't complete integration of trillions of networks, which is usually the case with most human beings until they consciously choose to do that inner work and have deeper reunification with all parts of the self and all the systems and centers in the body mind. It's very easy to have independently developed memory centers. It's really easy. Like literally any moment of unfulfilled attachment needs, or any moment where attachment needs were fulfilled in different ways from different sources, can cause that independent activity of navigational patterns, that independently developed memory centers. Okay. And so there's already this shift into a higher energy nervous system state. And I was noticing that was creating this shift of navigational patterns. And that was observable in an obvious way through the activation of explicit autobiographical memories, which are really obvious to notice, and more subtly observable by the shift in patterns of emotions, habits, decisions, preferences, etc., which come from unconscious memories rather than conscious memories. Okay, and so then there were these moments, and remember that the body mind learned to exist based on social engagement. The whole body mind learned how to exist based on social engagement its entire life, but it didn't necessarily know about it because the body mind exists and operates unconsciously until the consciousness of the self becomes conscious of itself, right? Until the consciousness of self becomes conscious to itself. And then the body mind can start to be brought into the illuminating light of awareness and influenced intentionally rather than existing and operating automatically. So the body mind came into existence, has learned to exist based on social engagement. but it didn't necessarily know about it. It's just been happening naturally, automatically, without much awareness to it. Okay, so then there were these really unexpected thought patterns about somebody that used to be in my life but is no longer in my life. And there was an action pattern correlated with an emotional pattern suggesting to reach out to this person. And you might just look at that and be like, oh yeah, like I randomly thought of this person. Wouldn't it be just like nice and friendly to say hi and see how they're doing? Okay. But I know too much. I thankfully know too much. And I know that if I'm having an automated thought form, especially about socially engaging with someone that isn't presently there, then it's actually unconscious navigation from my body-mind that is taking me away from myself and away from the present moment. And how I choose to respond to myself and how I choose to respond to that automated thought is going to affect the wiring in my body-mind and the connection that I have with myself. And so there's these thought patterns, and they kept coming up. And it didn't happen just once, too. It came up, and I ignored it, and I redirected. I used my RARE technique, which is part of what's shared in a couple of different Loving Liberation Launchpad course creations I have. It's an acronym, RARE, R-A-E-R. You recognize, acknowledge, extract, and redirect, and it allows you to rewire unconscious memories in an instant while bringing home parts of the self. It's one of the secrets that my inner best friend has been using for many, many years through many, many challenging times and through the ever unfolding miracle of now. And so I used RARE. It's an acronym for this practice. And the thought form drifted, and I continued about my day. And then like an hour later, it came back up. And it came back up stronger, with a stronger urge to act on that suggestion, to reach out to this person, and a stronger emotion of really wanting to have that connection. But I'm like, no, these are unconscious memories projecting themselves into my reality without my permission. Okay? Again, these are unconscious memories projecting navigation into my brand new present moment of reality without my permission. And if I act on those emotions and action patterns and I'm like, oh yeah, wow, I really miss this person, and I'm going to invest conscious energy in thinking about how I miss this person. Or yes, I'm going to think about or move into actually reaching out to this person. If I feed into that, then I am feeding into the unconscious navigation, and I am taking energy away from the self of me that is actually in the present moment, that exists independently of all of those thought forms, all of that brain body wiring, all of those impulses, all of those emotions, all of those action patterns. Okay. And so use the technique again, super powerful, super effective, and within a couple minutes it was gone completely, and I was able to be fully connected with myself in the present moment without these emotions, without these impulses, without these thought forms. And then a couple hours later, it comes back up again. And again, it's even stronger than it was the last time. And so it has to do with a few different things. One was the shift in nervous system activity, which was causing my body-mind to actually have access to different regions of memories that haven't gotten a chance to integrate since I recovered from all this amnesia for half a decade. Low-key, no big deal. Huge deal. It's only a little bit. It's only a tiny thing that's real, that's in my life. I didn't just heal myself from half a decade of severe amnesia. No, that didn't happen. It actually did. I don't know if you've been checking with my journey here, but it actually did happen. I'm literally healed myself from half a decade of amnesia, but that's cool. Anyway, so being in a different state of nervous system activity was activating different memories that hadn't gotten a chance to integrate yet. And that's why it was coming up strongly when that's not something I normally experience, because there were all these similar types of patterns of emotions and action patterns. Okay, action patterns of emotions and patterns of action, which are choices you make, habits, impulses, urges, connected with various social engagement externally from the past in these lower energy nervous system states. And I went through the process of integrating all of that so that my body mind navigates me instead of trying to navigate into the lives of other people that aren't in my life anymore. And then, but here I was in a state of different nervous system activity, and it was causing my body mind to actually access different regions of memory data that hadn't gotten to integrate yet. And so there was new things coming up that I hadn't been experiencing for a really long time. And then, okay, so that happened. And then literally again, a few hours later, it came up even stronger. And I recognized it, and I was like, hey, it's that unconscious memory program projecting itself into my reality and trying to navigate existence without my permission, because I am conscious. I am the consciousness of self who is conscious of itself, and now I get to navigate my life instead of my unconscious wiring navigating my life. And in that process, I get to rewire this, so then all this wiring can support me navigating my life as I actually want to, and not feed into unhealthy experiences. And the moment that I recognized that and was able to connect with myself in a mirror, all the other times I wasn't in a space where I could connect with myself in a mirror. I was out and about doing stuff. And so it was just a practice of mindfulness and redirecting, but I couldn't do a marathon in those moments. But here I was, the end of the day, and it came up again, but I was able to be in a marathon in that moment. The moment that I recognized the projection of unconscious memories, and I said, this is a projection of unconscious memories. This is not something that is me. It is not something that is now. It is not something that is love. It is not something that I am feeding into. It's a projection of unconscious memories. And I was able to have direct eye contact with myself in a mirror. I reached a profound space of intensive and immediate integration. And my eyes did the craziest stuff, which I am so massively used to at this point. This crazy eye stuff used to happen for like 2.5 hours straight sometimes with all the intensive integration that I've gone through to heal my brain. But my eyes did this really intense, going really high up and going back and forth and then getting stuck in a certain space with all this really intensive yawning. It's something that I call clickety clacks. There's rapid eye blinking and or really intensive eye movement that's very obviously a sign of something happening unconsciously rather than the eyes actually trying to like look at something in the physical world and gather information. And my eyes got stuck up in the right corner for a really long time. And, you know, inside I'm saying, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold the awareness that we're rewiring unconscious memories, hold the awareness of loving presence, hold the awareness of grounded presence, hold the awareness of loving self-attunement, hold the awareness of body-mind projections, hold the awareness that I have the power to rewire this, hold the awareness that I am choosing how to navigate my life, my automatic unconscious body-mind is not choosing for me, hold this moment so that this integration process can be completed. And so my eyes stayed up there and they're going back and forth, really intense yawns. And, you know, I'm guiding the journey inside of my consciousness to transform my brain, because consciousness exists and operates independently of brain-body structures, which is why it has power and authority over it and within it. And then my eyes got stuck in the upper right corner for quite a while, and I reached a space where it subsided. And the action pattern was still there, but it was different because there's this expanded awareness of it and stuff. And what I noticed though was that even though the action pattern still came up, there was actually, and it's interesting to kind of process this because it's like, you know, like just happened, like, you know, 30 seconds before I picked this up to record. So I'm like processing it as I'm talking about it, and it's like 1 a.m. and I had a really long day. And so then after that, the action pattern was still there. My body mind was still suggesting, hey, let's reply to that person who reached out. And now you're like, keep having these action patterns that you should say hi. But I noticed there was an increased connection with the autobiographical explicit memories, where my body mind understood the connection between the idea of saying hi now and the fact that this was someone that was said hi to in the past, when this person was actually in the life of before this was me. There was an increased sense of linear cataloging and explicit understanding, which shows that there's increased connection between brain hemispheres, between the fact and the feeling of experience, between the linearity organization of things and the unconscious sensation action pattern things, deeper connection with explicit conscious and implicit unconscious memories. And the action pattern was still there, but it wasn't fully in the body. It was more connected with the mind. And then the mind had more power to choose because they weren't having these two different conversations. And so just to bring all of this together, because I need to go get ready for bed. Being alive is a miracle. A shift in nervous system activity, which was gradual over a few days. It wasn't just like suddenly. It was gradual. It kind of built up to this state of semi-dysregulation in some moments, but it was more just a higher energy state, and I wasn't used to being in that, especially more than one day in a row, and so my body's like, wait, what's happening? It's like so much excitement. What do I do? Used to just like lots of meditation and keeping it slow, and lots of practicing all these ideas, but I've been out running around doing stuff. So there's a gradual shift to a higher energy of nervous system activity over a few days. And then an obvious shift. I mean, it's obvious because I spent, tens of thousands of hours of being in awareness of this. It wouldn't be obvious if, you weren't being aware of it anyways. But for me, thankfully, at this point, it's obvious to me to notice my stuff. And so there was a clear, evident shift in the activation of the navigational patterns of the body mind into regions of memory centers that hadn't yet gotten integrated since I've recovered from amnesia, half a decade of amnesia. And then what was next? And then there were these activations of patterns of emotions and actions correlating with people who are no longer in my life, and I have no interest in awakening unhealthy bridges that have already been closed. And the action patterns were really strong, and they felt very harmless. Like, oh yeah, you're just saying hi. You're just saying hi. Like, you're just saying hi. Like little like the little angelic being, and the little like being like just kind of tempting you to be like, that's no big deal. No, it's no big deal. You're just saying hi. What can it hurt? It's like a 3-word text on a social media. What harm could it possibly do? Like, go for it. And then the little angelic being like, this is a projection of unconscious memories, and it opens up timelines you have closed. It opens up doors you have closed. It opens up bridges you have closed. It opens up action patterns you have closed. It opens up emotional vulnerability you have closed. Like, And so then there was these activations of unconscious memories, projecting feelings and potential action patterns that I was like, nuh-uh. And they kept coming up, and even when using these very powerful and effective tools to shapeshift and transform them, there was, immediate relief, but then hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later, continually throughout the whole day, it kept coming up, and every time it came up, it was actually a little bit stronger than the last time. It was a little more prominent. It was like a little more like a scream instead of a whisper. And then eventually I got to a place where I was able to be in a mirror. The previous times I wasn't. I was able to glance into a mirror, but not actually like spend full moments in full contact with nothing else distracting me. And when I was able to make full eye contact with myself and practice the 5 steps of social self-engagement to the best of my ability in the moment, with simultaneous recognition that this was all coming from projection of unconscious memories, my eyes went into a deep, intensive clickety-clack state, and rather than rapid eye blinking, there was some rapid eye blinking, but rather than it primarily being rapid eye blinking, it was the eyes in looking up and going back and forth and then getting stuck in the upper right corner. And a very specific process of being like, hold it, hold it, hold it. I know exactly what's happening. The unconscious memories that have been projecting this stuff all day are now getting a chance to rewire, and all I need to do is stay with this process, this technique that I have been practicing for years and years and years, and it's so powerful, and it's so perfect, and it's so potent, and it's so precise, and it's so effective. So all I have to do is hold it and stay in this very specific practice, and these memories are going to start to get rewired. Maybe not completely, maybe not all right away, but we're going to at least make a dent in this. We're going to at least make a dent in this, and do something to rewire the stuff that keeps projecting itself. So eyes got stuck in the upper right corner, and then afterwards I felt and could notice a noticeable, evident, clearly observable shift with expanded connection between unconscious and conscious memories, left-right brain hemispheric data, and the autobiographical particulars, and the very subtle projection of patterns of feelings and potential actions. And with that connection, there's a little bit of a relief, like, oh, like I understand that there was this person, and we knew them here, we knew them here, we knew them here. And the more information there is in the body mind in connection with any of the abstract associations, the more potential it has to interject. And so this particular person was on and off in the life of this beingness before, all the way from middle school, high school, college, through adulthood, and then randomly reached out recently. And so there's a lot of body-mind data in correlation with this person. And it's interesting too, because there's a lot of body-mind data from different memory centers, because there's different time periods of life and different states of nervous system activity in connection with this person. And so there's a lot of information that can come up, and the more data there is, the stronger the message might be, just depending on the particulars. If there's been strong emotions or a longer duration, like decades of information that have been gradually gathered, then there's a greater likelihood that there's going to be like a stronger projection of that information. And so that also contributed to it. But then there was just kind of this sense with that integration where the body mind was like, oh, I feel like I have a little bit more of a grasp that this person was here and here and here, but is no longer here now, and can kind of translate those projections more effectively. Instead of, oh, it's now and you need to reach out to this person now, it's, oh, I used to reach out to this person and now it's a past memory instead of a present action pattern. And so it's a completion of the unconscious memories, a completion of brain hemispheric integration, one step further in helping to unify these different memory centers that are the navigational systems of the body mind. And it all comes back to attachment well-being and social engagement, and then the correlation between the navigational systems of memory centers in the unconscious mind and the regulation of brain-body systems and these regulatory protocols in the unconscious body, and their connection and relation with attachment well-being, which correlates with social engagement. And social self-engagement practices are the most powerful to rewrite this stuff, because that is the foundation of it all. Social engagement was the foundation of it all. And so social self-engagement is the most powerful way to resculpt any of it, which is why moments in the mirror encourage all that brain activity that led to these moments of integration, rather than didn't have that intensive integration and the things kept coming up stronger. So yeah, Implicit Revelations, case study notes. Every day is a new opportunity to explore the miracles of existence. And, this is like like my purpose and stuff or whatever. So that's cool. Okay, Implicit Revelations Case Study notes. That's all. Okay, bye. If you did check this video out, by the way, please feel free to share either something that you learned that you didn't know before, or something that makes sense in your own life because maybe you've experienced something similar in some way. And feel free to share that in the comments. And I sometimes take a while to check out the comments because I have a lot of focal points in my life, but I do always eventually get to the comments, so even if it's not immediate, I do come back and get to check all of those out, and I do appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch the videos and like or subscribe or comment or share any of them. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. And if you're inspired, feel free to share in the comments one thing that you learned that maybe you didn't know before, or you weren't like aware of any of the stuff that I was just sharing, or two, something in your own life that maybe makes a little bit more sense or kind of came up for you because you had some similar experience with any of this stuffness. And feel free to share that in the comments. And at the soonest moment of my now moment, when we happen to miraculously connect, I will definitely be checking out all the comments and responding as I'm able. So infinite love. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being you. And yeah, Implicit Revelations, it never sleeps. My case study never sleeps.